I see people everywhere are controlled by fear. And I see fear holding them back from living the life they want or achieving the goals that they want. Fear controls us, and it's because we're human. I mean, if you look back in evolutionary psychology, fear kept us safe. And back then, it was physical threats or physical things that we feared, and that's what kept us alive. So fear can protect us, but now the fear that we experience are social fear. It is the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, and that is what holds so many people back. So if someone wants to do something, they have a dream to always do this one thing, but they're scared that they're not going to be perfect, or they're afraid of the failure, they just don't even try.
Welcome back to the Sparks of Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Randy Sparks, and today we have a wonderful treat with us, Jill Schulman. Welcome to the conversation.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Okay, so Jill and I met a few months ago for the first time. A dear friend of ours that we were just talking about, Curtis Morley, introduced us, which I loved because Curtis, I think it may have been the same day that you met Curtis. He texted me and says, I have someone you need to meet.
Aww.
And I think he put us on a three-way text, and you and I had been waiting to put this together. And he says, and she's doing this thing. She's writing this book about bravery, and so which now I have a copy of it. It's called The Bravery Effect, where we talk about the science of bravery. We're going to learn a little bit about this.
Yes.
I love the way you tell the story through a parable, not just like, let me teach you about 5 points to something.
Yeah.
So I love the way that you teach it. But thank you for writing this book.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I feel like the world needs it. I do, especially now.
Okay, so to open this, I want to. I talk to my kids about bravery a lot.
Good. Tell
And
me.
when I say a lot, that may not be as much as you talk about bravery. but there's something that I keep repeating to them about bravery, and I saw the theme of it in this book, and so I'd love to kind of get your comments on that. Ever since my kids were little, and I remember it more with my daughters. You just met my oldest son, Max, but with all of them, especially when they were younger, I would talk to them, especially when they'd say they were scared of something. I'm like, if you're not scared, you can't be brave.
That is correct, and that is one biggest misunderstandings about bravery is people think that bravery is being fearless.
Hey there, everyone. Did you know that beyond hosting the Sparks of Gratitude podcast, I am also an estate planning attorney, and I love gratitude, and my law firm is proud to sponsor this video. Since 2010, in my law practice, I have designed and delivered customized peace of mind with sophisticated estate planning made easy. So whether you need foundational estate planning, including revocable trusts, wills, powers of attorney, and healthcare directives, which is what most people need, or you might need advanced strategies such as irrevocable trust for asset protection or advanced estate tax planning, I am here to guide you every step of the way. Because at the end of the day, your peace of mind is my peace of mind. You can visit randallsparks.com and I can get started helping you plan for the future today. Now back to our podcast.
And I always go through the definition. What does it mean to be brave? And the definition of bravery is voluntary action in the presence of fear toward a noble or meaningful goal. So if you don't feel scared, you're not being brave. So what you're saying is perfectly correct based on the research.
Okay, excellent. So let's maybe dive into that. But as we get into what you've learned through this, maybe I want to kind of go back and why did you even write this book?
I wrote this book because I see this in my kids, other young people, also people in the workplace. I see people everywhere are controlled by fear. And I see fear holding them back from living the life they want or achieving the goals that they want. Fear controls us, and it's because we're human. I mean, if you look back in evolutionary psychology, fear kept us safe. And back then, it was physical threats or physical things that we feared, and that's what kept us alive. So fear can protect us, but now the fear that we experience are social fear. It is the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, and that is what holds so many people back. So if someone wants to do something, they have a dream to always do this one thing, but they're scared that they're not going to be perfect, or they're afraid of the failure, they just don't even try. So I see this in like small areas, like little things like in the workplace. Most of my work is with corporations. So I'm a leadership development consultant. I bring the science of bravery into organizations so that they can achieve goals, have a bigger impact, boost the bottom line. But the best part is what it does to the humans because they go through the hero's journey. Um, but my why about the bravery effect is to help people overcome the fear holding them back, keeping them small. Because if you allow fear to control you, then you're not going to live your best life. And I think part of the reason I wrote it as well is I had my light bulb moment when I was studying positive psychology. So, positive psychology is the scientific study of elevating your happiness and well being. So, think of someone that's got a good life, like they have a good life, like they've got a job, they've got a family. Maybe it's not what they always dreamed of, but they have an okay life, like a job that pays the bills. They don't really enjoy it. Like, maybe the relationship with their spouse is not bad. It's not great. Like, I'm talking about people who have this mediocre life. This is where I see fear holding them back the most. And my goal is to help people elevate their happiness, life satisfaction, and well being. And in order to live that extraordinary life, to go from like a good life to a great life, you've got to go after the things you want. You want a great marriage, then what are the things that you're going to do? And there might be some fear involved to elevate the quality of your relationship. Or, what is the career you've always wanted to do? Are you brave enough to take the steps to start living in alignment with what you really want?
Okay, so that brings up a couple of thoughts. So one, you did study positive
I
psychology, and
did.
this was in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, University of
All
Pennsylvania.
right, and so, remind me who it was that, founded that school.
Marty Seligman.
Okay, so Marty Seligman. I mean, I've read books,
Yeah.
by Marty Seligman, and my wife and I have looked into that. Actually, this podcast, the genesis of this podcast is through positive psychology.
Yes, that's why I'm so like glad to be here.
So,
Yes.
well, and I won't go much into it, but just so you know, so my wife and I would visit with a psychologist. That was his realm. I mean, it was positive psychology. He wrote a book called Pathological Positivity, and then later we read, Seligman books, and
Yeah,
and
it's powerful.
and it just opened all of that to us. But a lot of the way we were training ourselves, my wife and I began with some of these tools to train ourselves to think and
Mhm.
speak and see things. It changed. The world didn't change, but we changed.
Ah, the way you saw the world.
Right.
Mm, powerful.
And so that's where I think positive psychology changes
Yeah.
everything, because it's what is consistent with everything surrounding me. It's I am the one thing that is experiencing
Yeah.
wherever I am. And so what's the one thing I can change? Me,
Yeah.
right? And so I might experience something that, well, that is harder than something I've experienced
Mm.
before, or something beautiful, but it's how I choose to see and respond to that, and then ask myself, why is this for me? Not how is this for me? Not why is this happening to me?
To me, that's a
Right.
beautiful
And
reframe.
so all of this came back, and then how kind of the gratitude relates to it is this, Dr. Paul Jenkins, he invited my wife and I to keep a daily gratitude practice,
Uh-huh.
which I think will circle back around, because it's the
Mhm.
habit. It's the habit. It's the habit. And you talk about bravery as a habit, which I'd love to get into.
Yeah.
But that daily gratitude practice that we started maybe 15 years ago changed my life.
Wow.
And so I believe that it's those tiny little habits that when the larger things come,
Yeah.
I have put in the reps
Mhm.
to be able to respond to that differently.
Absolutely.
So I love the positive psychology background that you have, but that's not the only background you have.
Oh, we're talking about the Marine Corps background.
Well, fill me in.
Yeah, so I started my career as a United States Marine. I actually went through college first, so I was lucky enough to get a full ride on the Marine Corps to go to college first, and then after college, then I was commissioned. Um, and I tell you, I think I learned a lot about bravery and how to build bravery, like one day at a time by doing the reps there. Like I was brave enough to apply for the scholarship and even start the program that would lead to becoming a Marine. My grandfather was a Marine as well. But a big motivation for the scholarship is, I grew up in small town Minnesota and I wanted to kind of get out and see the world and I wanted to do something meaningful with my life. And I saw getting a full ride on the Marine Corps allowed me to go to any school I wanted to in the US and then would give me that meaningful career. So I think it was a brave step just to go and apply and then get to the beginning of my freshman year. But what I learned is had no idea what I had in store for me. Like, that the Marine Corps is tough because they say the few and the proud. I had no idea how hard it would be. And I had to build my bravery by showing up each day and getting better and better. Like, I got to tell you the funny story of when I showed up. So I was 18 years old, feeling pretty like confident. Like, I just got this full ride, just feeling a little cocky, a little confident. Because I had to have the academics, I had to have the leadership, I had to have the physical, like, the sports background, had all of it. And then I arrive in San Diego for my first day of orientation. So, when kids go to college, they have to go like a week early for orientation. But if you're in ROTC, it's a week earlier than that for like mini boot camp, like little orientation. And I arrived, I remember putting a lot of thought into my outfit. This sounds weird, but I was 18-year-old girl. And I learned that officers don't wear jeans and all kids wear jeans. So I couldn't wear that. And I didn't want to wear a dress because it'd be too girly. So I bought a very professional looking, like there was these, and it's hot in the summer in San Diego. So there were like these silk pink shorts that went down to my knees. They were hot pink with white polka dots with matching pumps. Do you just imagine what my initial interaction with the Marines were when I was this girl showing up in hot pink? Like, think of a stunt double of Elle from Legally Blonde. And then imagine what you think of Marine Corps boot camp. And there was shock and it was scary because I realized that no one looked like me. When I reported into the unit, it's both Navy and the Marine Corps. And most of the females were on the Navy side. There were only a couple of us crazy enough to go over to the Marine Corps side, and the other female quit after the first year. And all the other Marines that were there, a lot of them were prior enlisted. So they went into the Marine Corps after high school. And they were such great Marines, such high performing Marines. They were allowed to go back to college for 4 years. So I'm surrounded by these really successful Marines, mainly, and then some of us that were right out of high school, they were mainly male, and I was the only female. And that very first day, I'm lined up, and someone came over to me and told me, never make it as a Marine. Wow. So that was, and then it got worse on day 2 when we went for our first run because I couldn't keep up in the runs. I mean, Minnesota, flat as a pancake. Southern California, I couldn't keep up in the runs, right? So here's what I learned about bravery is bravery are these little decisions that you make, not just in those dire moments when there's an emergency. It's actually easier to be brave in those moments because it's dire, but it's the little moments where you choose, do I do the hard thing, the scary thing that's going to bring me to my goal? Or am I going to choose to step back and take the easy route? Or I like to call it, are you going to be brave or are you going to cower? And I had to make that choice each day because I could have gone back to Minnesota, right? But I kept showing up because the goal at the end was meaningful. And it took me a couple of years to finally, I think, become fast and strong. And because my journey was so much harder than all the other Marines, I think that the transformation throughout my college years was more significant because it was so hard for me. So the Marine Corps is kind of known for, like they said, we don't recruit brave people. Like, we make Marines, like we take pride in it, like the few, the proud. If you show up, you will become a United States Marine. You'll become we'll teach you how to. So I'm just thankful for the training. It took years, of me in college, but by the end of it, I was confident, brave, and strong, and I didn't show up that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's a lot beyond that. So what did you learn from yourself there? You didn't show up that way, but you became that.
Mm.
How much of that surprised you?
What surprised me is, I mean, I kept showing up. It took me longer to become great at running than I thought. That was one shock. But what surprised me is between my junior and senior year, so if you're in ROTC, at least the Marine Corps option of Naval ROTC, between your junior and senior, you have to go to something called Officer Candidate School. And I was always really fixated on just how I wasn't measuring up physically. So I had to put in extra effort to really close the gap so I was physically strong. So I put a lot of work into it. But when I went to OCS, if you don't make it through OCS, you don't become a Marine, right? I mean, you need people who are competent and strong. And you end up competing with all your fellow officers and you come out with a ranking. And what surprised me is when I came out of OCS, I just wanted to not embarrass myself. I wanted to survive and get through it. But when I graduated, I was the top graduate from my school. All those also prior enlisted male Marines, because they were measuring your ability to lead, your ability, physical strength, your ability to take tests on how weapons systems work and all that. It was like the full package. So, but when you added up all those things, I actually emerged as the top Marine. And that was a surprise to me because that I think boosted my confidence. It was, and this is consistent with the literature because I'm kind of the psychology geek, right? So what Albert Bandura teaches us is don't wait until you feel ready. The only way that you end up building your self-confidence and your self-efficacy is you have to prove it to yourself. So in each one of those days that I went out running and I got a little stronger, or each time I tried that obstacle course and got a little bit until I finally was able to get through the whole thing really quickly. Each time I overcame something and became stronger in one little area, it made me a little bit more confident. And when I came out of officer candidate school, I was changed because I realized I'm like, all this hard work and effort, like I am brave. I am a great Marine because I proved it to myself. So it's taking the steps. That is what proves to yourself that you're confident, that you're worthy of it, right? So I think that was a surprising thing in my journey. And some people that knew me back then, they said, when you came back from OCS, like you were changed. I was, that made me confident.
I love having that example of someone else that might have had the gap of seeing you before and later,
Mm,
and for them to demonstrate the change that they see in you.
yeah.
And sometimes when that's a slow progression,
Mhm.
it's hard for one to see. I always invite people to do this exercise with gratitude, where I say one of the best exercises you can do is to go back to a version of your younger self and
Mm,
write a letter of gratitude to that person, and just watch what happens. Because sometimes where I am is exactly where I am,
mhm.
right? And I might have my eyes set on something in the future, and this is where fear comes in. This is where,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and where bravery is important, because I have fear all the time.
mhm.
Uh, e- every day I have fear of something, and I need to make a choice, right? Am I going to step into this? So, and that's where I want to kind of go through your model here, and you
Yeah.
can teach us more about that. And but this idea of the letter of gratitude, it's because it reveals to me what is all the hard work and sacrifice and lessons learned, and how far have I come.
Mm,
And when I open myself up to express gratitude for that younger version of me, all of a sudden, not only do I realize how far I've come, but my heart and love and compassion for myself, and my sense of love and forgiveness and compassion and belief in
ah,
myself, I've just allowed myself to feel it all.
mm,
But then that opens myself up to feel that to you as well,
yeah.
right? Because how are you different than me? And then I can look and say, well, wait a minute, there's a future version of me waiting for me to do that,
Beautiful.
right? And
And, as you're saying, this is making me think of also like as we look back too, because sometimes when I'm doing keynotes, because I do a lot of keynotes for organizations, I'll ask the audience, like, what is your most proud accomplishment? So they'll identify what that is and say, like, tell me how you were at the beginning of the journey. And then tell us about some of the struggles you had to overcome. So it's this great, powerful activity that everyone does. And then you ask people at the end, if you could go back and you could take away all those challenges and adversity, would you want to? And you know what everyone says? No. So that's also having gratitude for the challenges that shape you, because each time you have a challenge or some type of adversity, that's character building. Like, I'm so glad I had that individual tell me on day one, you'll never make it as a Marine. And that, I mean, every struggle made me stronger. So, people can look back retrospectively and see how the struggle, or in the Marine Corps, we say embrace the suck. Like sometimes when things are really hard, we need to have gratitude for it because it's what is making us stronger. But it's harder for people to look forward and embrace what's hard as much. It's a lot easier to look back.
okay, exactly. And so now I think this is a good opening to kind of go into the model. And you
Yep.
tell this story through a parable of somebody, which I like that format. There's so many books I've read that have that format, because I can insert myself into the story rather than somebody just telling me
All the academic stuff.
data, right?
Yeah.
And a partner of mine, he says, data informs, but stories transform,
Yeah.
right?
Love that.
And because I can really identify with
Yeah.
the character and the experience that they're going through. So I really appreciate that you did that way. Um, let's kind of talk about what do people get wrong about bravery,
Mhm.
and then how do you insert people into
Yeah.
this story and pattern?
Well, sometimes people think that bravery is just a trait that you're born with, and that's not true. It's a skill that anyone can build. It's kind of like building strength, like a muscle. Like if you want to become strong physically and someone has noodly arms and has no strength, and they just said, I'm just not strong, I can never be strong, we'd say, that's ridiculous. You just got to go into the gym and you're not going to be able to bench 200 pounds on day one, but you're going to start and you're going to work hard and it should hurt and you'll be sore. But if you keep doing that, you'll develop strength. And it's the same thing with bravery. So it's not like it happens in this eureka moment. It is something that you can build a capacity to become brave, to overcome your fears. So that's one of the, you know, the myths about bravery. And the other that we talked about when you say, always say to your kids that if you're not scared, you wouldn't be brave. And I think a lot of people think that bravery is being fearless. So they think when the fear goes away, then you can be brave. And it's actually not that. It's being scared and doing it anyway. So there's a couple like misconception about bravery in general. And the last thing that comes to mind, and this is a real reason why I did this research and I wrote this book, is I feel that in today's current world, there is a tendency for us to do this to ourselves, even in the workplace, but especially for our younger generation, just to try to make life as easy and comfortable as possible because we want our kids to be happy.
You don't say.
Yeah, and I'm the United States Marine that wrote the book on bravery, and I can look back and see instances where you take away the adversity and it feels like great parenting because you're like, oh, they were so upset. And now that you just see them, the comfort melt away. And I feel like I did the right thing as a parent. But each time we remove those opportunities, they're not growing, they're not developing. So I see it as parents and just you see what's out there in social media and what's out in the news. There's just this story out there that, the key to happiness and well-being is you just want life to be smooth and you don't want any problems. It's just not the truth based on psychology. If you try to always choose the easy path with no challenges and adversity and you stay in this safe little bubble, that is going to be an absolute fast path to a life of lower life satisfaction, depression, and anxiety.
Well, and that is actually going to bring you the real challenge and adversity is by defaulting to comfort,
Yes.
right? And in this book that you gave me, I mean, it says comfort and growth do not coexist,
Yeah.
right? And so embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck and just realize it's reframing it. It's just realizing that, on the path to that noble or meaningful goal, as you're climbing that mountain, that's coming to mind because of Friday night, you're climbing a mountain, there's going to be ups and downs and there's going to be hard times. And those hard times, like the strength is born in the struggle. So we're not going to grow without having some discomfort. And I feel like, especially our younger generation, the number one thing I get when people read the book is they say, I need my kids, or I have this young person that needs to read it. So that's kind of what's in my heart. I feel like the world needs to realize that I want people to be happiest. I'm a happiness scientist, positive psychology. That's what I studied under the best minds. I want people to be happy, so I want them to be uncomfortable.
Ooh, I like that because the myth is that
Comfort and ease.
comfort and ease
Makes
is
you
happiness, but it's not the
It's
case.
not. Now we need some comfort and ease, but it's using the analogy of the body. Like if you wanted your body to be comfortable and at ease all the time, your body would become weak and you would be unhealthy. So we should be have some times of comfort and ease. And that is actually every day we should have at least 10 hours of not working to be able to rest our bodies, to rejuvenate so we can get up the next day and get back to getting after what that meaningful goal is. And it's important at least once a week, I think, just to take a day off and just really like slow down. But if every single day is a self-care day, that means sleeping in and not getting up and exercising your body and just scrolling through your phone and binge watching Netflix, that is not self-care. That is self-destruction.
Okay, I like how you say that. That similar to physical exercise or building up endurance or any
Mhm.
type of physical analogy,
Yeah.
um, it's not just the activity itself, but it's the recovery and the key
Yes.
to both of them combined,
Yes.
right? And so it's not, constantly being comfortable or constantly being uncomfortable. It's
Exactly.
like, how do you marry those two? And so I know how that works as being, a marathon runner.
Mhm.
Right. I
You run
know
marathons?
yeah, I've run marathons. So I don't lift weights, but actually it's been a
How
few
many
years since
marathons?
I don't know, maybe 6 or
Oh my
7.
gosh. I did 3 and I'm like, I'm done. I'm just gonna
Right.
lift.
And I quit. I ride a bike now.
Okay. There we go.
So,
Better for the joints. There
yeah,
you go.
definitely. But the recovery, anytime I was injured, it was because I wasn't resting enough.
Yes.
Right. And so the recovery is so important. Um, and so what might, when we're looking at the mental game,
Yeah.
what might the mental game of recovery look like when we're exercising bravery? And maybe
Right.
this comes back to
Yeah,
kind of
it
the
does.
the
It's
model that you teach,
yeah.
and maybe go through that.
Yeah, yeah, because we do in order to show up and get that next workout cognitively to facing our fears, we need to have that recovery. So, this is where I'll bring in some cognitive psychology here in
Mhm.
a moment, like, how we can do some reframing, also just getting quality rest. Like for you to show up and perform at your best and to face your fears, you've got to be physically and mentally rested, right? So, the problem people have is sometimes people go overboard and they work so many hours a day, they never take any time off, they don't get good sleep. It's like you're actually going to perform lower if you go too far, and that's what leads to burnout. So if you're getting to the point where you're challenging yourself and stressing yourself too many hours and every single day without the recovery, you're actually not going to be able to accomplish as much. So we need to keep that balance there. But one thing is, and this is what you read in the book in terms of like, there's basically 3 ways that you can build bravery. One is changing the way you think. So, and and everything I'm going to talk about, the 3 steps, it's all about taking action in the presence of fear to achieve those meaningful goals. So when we talk about our mindset, a brave mindset, that's going to help us and impact our action because the way we think impacts our action. And then since you've read the book, you know about the third one, which is also who we surround ourselves
Mhm.
with impacts our actions, right? So I think the first thing on my model, based on cognitive psychology, mindset impacts our ability to take action. The second one is really based on behavioral psychology, which is how do you actually take the step when you're scared. So we got some techniques how to do that. And then finally, who you surround yourself with will help you take that brave action. If you're around a lot of people who don't push themselves and they're not aligned with your goal, they're probably going to say, why are you going to get up and go for a bike ride? Let's just hang out and game all day, right? So you got to decide who you spend time with that are in alignment with your goals. So, just a little bit on the cognitive. I mean, I teach a lot of different things on the cognitive reframing side, and this is important for us to be happy in life, but this is also important for us to do in businesses. And this is one thing I bring to organizations that most companies are not doing is if you bring in a little bit of cognitive training to your workforce, that is a force multiplier. Like you're going to get much higher performance. Most people just train people on the skill. How do you do the spreadsheet? How do you, but if we can work a little bit on belief systems and mindset, like that is going to have a bigger impact than just. So on the cognitive side, one of my favorite ones to talk about, I usually talk about growth mindset. So letting people know that you are able to develop skills, right? You can't have a fixed mindset, which is like, I could never talk in front of a group. It's like, no, let's reframe that and say, right, you can't talk confidently in front of a group yet. So that's like baby steps. We start there so people realize that anything's possible. It's a choice. And it just opens that little door to possibility. Like they've got a little optimism, like it is possible. So growth mindset. But one of my favorite things that really helps people, I think, be brave is we reframe the challenges and stress, like we were kind of talking about earlier, and let people realize that when you feel like you're feeling fear, fear is a emotion and it is a sign once in a very rare occasion, it's a sign we should listen to run the other way because it's telling us there's something dangerous and to go away from it. Maybe if there's a physical danger, or maybe there's something that we know is not something good to go toward. But most of the time, it's social fear. And so, in terms of the cognitive side, like I train people to like look at fear and decide, is this, let's get curious about it, but is it a sign that it's something important that matters that we should move toward? So we teach people, like when they feel the fear, instead of running away from it, we teach them to run toward it. Have you ever heard of like the buffalo versus the cow? Is that what you're thinking? Like that's, everyone knows that. So if your audience doesn't know it, like when there's a challenge, when there's a problem, there's the fear, the natural reaction, because we're humans, is to run away from it. And that's what cows do. They run away from the storm. So this is storms coming in. When storms are rolling in, cows run away from it, and then they're in the storm longer and they suffer longer. But buffalo herds, they charge toward the storm, and because they're running toward it and the storm is coming, their amount of time suffering under the storm is less, and they get through the other side. So it's kind of the same thing with fear. Like if you really fear something and you just keep running away from it, you're just going to be kind of miserable longer.
Yeah, and
So
that analogy, it's like, well, it's just chasing you, and it's always going to be chasing you. I saw the funniest, I mean, the most beautiful, and it is exactly this message. Oh man, I wish I could have it and show it to you right now, but I watched it with my 10-year-old like 2 nights ago.
uh-huh.
Um, it was a reel with this like toddler, maybe 3 or 4 year old running away from a goose. I mean, goose, like
That would be
they're
scary.
frightening, and it's, I mean, it's like as big as the child, and it's
Yeah.
chasing it, and then it comes up on it, and the kid just turns around, faces it head on, and just grabs it by the neck, and then is holding it up, and then just carries it off until it sees its mom. And the caption was something about like, this is the example of facing your fear,
Facing your fear.
right, head on,
Mhm.
and it diffuses the whole thing,
Yeah.
right?
And if he would have kept running, he would have just been miserable longer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like one of those where you just like cheering him on and then tears in your eyes. But it's the same. It's the buffalo facing the storm. And then I think, okay, well, I'm often the toddler running away.
Mm.
And this is a daily occurrence of the things that I feel. And
Yeah.
it's like,
We
well,
all have these
I'm
fears,
afraid
don't we?
of that.
Mhm.
But I think it comes down to being honest with myself
Mhm.
and really, I mean, my ego is so clever to convince myself and justify my decisions.
Oh, like I'm not ready, and I'm being logical and I'm playing it
Yeah.
safe.
Hmm.
That's the story you tell yourself.
Yeah. And I'm so convincing that I don't even realize I'm doing it.
Mm.
Right. Because that story, and I will give credit to my ego, is my ego's responsibility is to prove me right and keep me safe,
Mhm.
and does an amazing job at that. Right. But sometimes those things are not moving me in a productive direction of
Right.
growth. So that's when it's like, oh, if I'm able to be aware enough of that emotion of fear
Mhm.
or resistance or whatever I might call
Right.
that,
Mhm.
and ask myself, what, instead of just reacting in however I may react and run
Mhm.
or
That's
run or
cowering.
resist and cower, right? um, then I can actually make a choice.
Make a choice. And it's slowing down, because I think our natural reaction is, and this is some emotional intelligence coming in here, is like when you experience an emotion, instead of just reacting right away, amygdala takes over and we just react because maybe the initial response is like, okay, this is uncomfortable, I'm going to run the other way. Instead, just be curious, right? And then spend a little bit of time just thinking about it. So now we want to use our prefrontal cortex to make an executive decision and going like, okay, why do I feel this fear? Many times it's a sign that something's important. If it's the thing like, I really want that, but I'm scared to try, right? So if we just pause and really think about, be curious about the fear and realize, is this a sign to move forward? So that's just an easy little activity where it takes about 15 seconds to just slow down and then not allow your amygdala to take over just to react, but to use your prefrontal cortex to decide like what is the best thing to do. And my the number one thing I will tell my clients when I talk to my audience is I just say, ask yourself this question and you'll know the right thing to do. What does your future self want you to do in this moment? And that will usually guide you the right way. If it's the fear you should listen to, that's going to, you're walking into an area, like I tell my kids, like if they ever walk into an area with kids and they're doing bad things, that's good fear, right? You walk out of there because you don't want to be in that environment. So your future self's going to say, yeah, I hope I leave. But if you're walking into an environment and then there's a bunch of kids that you don't know and you really want to get to know them because you're new to the class and you want to run the other way, what does your future self want you to do? Well, you want to go in and you want to sit down and introduce you to a couple people because you want to develop relationships with these kids. See the difference there? What does your future self want you to do? It's a really good way to differentiate the bad fear or the fear we should listen to, which is trying to keep us safe, and then the fear that we're running away from it because of the social fear.
And how do you help people? Because if I'm sitting in a group and you're presenting this to me and I'm captive,
Uh-huh.
right? You can invite me in that captive environment. We're sitting and you're presenting
Mhm.
for an hour, or you're doing a workshop or a keynote or something, and you can invite me. And I'm like, okay, everybody close your eyes and you know, like in that moment, I can do that exercise, right? And I find it, easier. And sometimes I resist. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. But you have me captive,
Okay.
um, right? But then, which I think is great. But when I'm just like, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm in the chaos of my day and so on, how can I train myself
Yeah.
to implement those tools on the daily?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd say the first one is easy. Like in that moment, it only takes 15 seconds. So
Mhm.
I want you to honor yourself and your goals, like, because your goals are important to you. Give yourself just 10 to 15 seconds to ask that question. That'll sometimes motivate you. But the other thing is just reframing stress and adversity. And this is very effective, and it's been researched. Your mindset on stress and adversity is predictive of your reaction to it. Aaliyah Crum from Stanford, Kelly McGonigal, who wrote a book called Stress is Your Friend. What they found is people who view stress and adversity as opportunities to grow and develop, they they are more successful and they live longer, happier lives. So your mindset on stress predicts the way you respond to it, both psychologically and physiologically. And to kind of prove this point, it only takes 3 minutes. There's this really well known study that was done by Aaliyah Crum, Sean Aker, and colleagues, where they went into a really stressful work environment. And the only intervention is they spent 3 minutes having them watch a video, and they had half of the leaders watch a video that says stress is what helps you grow and develop. It stretches you. In fact, when you're feeling stress with your heart beating, maybe sweating, this is your body like preparing you to focus and perform at your best. This is a sign that, wow, this is really important. So stress is enhancing. Stress is going to make you. So, like half the people literally were just given this reframe on stress. The other half were told what we see all over news and media: stress is horrible. It's going to kill you. Um, and that was the only intervention. Was a 3 minute video. They watched the video multiple times over a couple of weeks, and then they measured the impact on these people. And the people who had the stress is enhancing mindset video performed better, however they measured it, statistically significant in this high pressure finance department. The people over here, when they were measured, they liked their stressful jobs better. So job satisfaction went up. They even measured the physiological response to the stress, healthier response over here, even higher levels of DHEA, a hormone that is linked to resilience. So this is what I would say to the person is, okay, when you're out in real life, I know it's easy here, but I just want you in the moments where you've got to make a decision, because the decision to be brave happens in the moment, and you always have the decision. Do I step forward toward my noble, worthwhile goal, even though I'm scared, or will I step back and cower? And I want you to just give yourself 10 or 15 seconds to think about it and make the decision. What does your future self want to do? And then even when you're feeling like shaky knees and a voice that's maybe shaky and you're feeling your heart pounding, just tell yourself that this is the way my body feels when I'm excited, and my body is just preparing me to perform at my best. And that little simple thing that you do will usually give you the courage just to take that step forward. And it's only the first step that's hard. Usually after you take the first step, within a minute or two, your your parasympathetic nervous system calms down. You just got to take that step. So I would say to someone like, I want you to go try it. And it's like going to the gym, right? So the first time it may not go perfectly, but you just need to keep doing the reps. And you're going to get better at this of doing the hard thing. And the more that you do it, then it's just like your body. If you stress your biceps and you lift, they're going to grow because your body's saying, oh my gosh, like I better prepare myself next time to be able to do this. The same thing happens with our brain, with brain plasticity. So our prefrontal cortex will get larger. We'll have cortical thickening. We will have the part of our brain, the ACC, gets larger. It's like the bravery part of the brain.
The anterior cingulate
Yes,
cortex.
yes, beautiful, yes. And then also just in the functional MRIs, they see there's so many more pathways that are going to be developed between our prefrontal cortex and the ACC. So the more you do it, so I'd say like in the moment, I know it's going to be really hard the first time, but try those little tricks to take a little step. I don't want you don't need to go from never raising your hand ever in a meeting to now speaking in front of 1,000 people. Like you got to start with baby steps. So the first thing is I'm going to raise my hand and share an idea in a meeting. Maybe that's all you're going to do and you're going to use those techniques. And over time, that muscle, that bravery muscle is going to build.
Okay, I love how you said that. It doesn't have to be something large. I mean, we're kind of coming back to the theme just to remember,
Yeah.
because I think, and I don't know if people listening think this, but you explained this, the very first thing that we started, it's that bravery is a habit. One of the myths or the misunderstandings is that you are brave as a character trait.
Right.
It's like, no, it's a habit that you choose, and it's the little habitual thing that you do. And you proved that to yourself through the Marine Corps
Yes.
training, right? For all those years. And then what did you learn about yourself after, right? And so there is the example of it that you had in your life, right? And many of those things were very difficult in themselves. However, it was the sum of all of them together that added up, right?
Yes.
And you kept proving it to yourself,
Little by little.
little by little along the way.
And then when you do have those failures, you just learn from them, right?
But what is a failure, right? Is a failure a step backwards?
Well, I think we just have to, when people take a step forward and they fail, I think that's progress because they've learned something. Like each time someone takes a risk and they're brave and they try something new, like you and I were talking about, like for me writing a book, you starting a podcast, like, you think you're doing everything right and then you learn. And the only way you learn is by experimentation. And some things go well and some things fail, right? So failures are stepping stones, this cliche, like they're stepping stones to growth, but we learn by doing. You don't just start a new skill and then day one, you're perfect at it. The only way that you learn is you try it and you learn what works and doesn't work, and you learn from that and you keep doing it over and over again. So when we have the failures, it's another reframe of thinking like, okay, I was brave and I tried something new. I was brave enough to suck at something new. Be brave.
That is such a great message, that be brave enough to suck at something, because I've had conversations with people of like, oh, I want to play, and when I say asking for a friend, I've had conversations with people who want to do something. I want to learn how to play guitar well. I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to do that. I want to have rock hard abs, but I don't want them bad enough to do the work that it takes to get them, right? And so this kind of comes back, well, am I willing to do the hard thing,
the work,
and be consistent with it, right?
And that just reminds me of in behavioral psychology too, like just one little piece of evidence to bring in is, according to Roy Baumeister, who he did research on like our cognitive ability and how at the beginning of the day, we've got the highest levels of cognitive capacity, which is another term for saying like we have the highest ability to be disciplined or motivated to get the hard thing done. He uses it as like a battery. Like when we wake up in the morning, as long as we've gotten a good night rest, we're going to be like fully charged batteries, and we're going to be in the best state to do the hard thing first thing in the day. But what a lot of people do out of habit, and I've been guilty of this, I don't know if you have been the same. Sometimes when you start your day, you just do the easy things first and you put off the hard things. And Roy Baumeister said that is the opposite of what we should be doing. If so whatever that hard thing is, if someone wants to get the rock hard abs, what they should do is get up in the morning and like before they even have a chance to think about it, like when my alarm goes off, I put my workout gear on and I immediately do the hard thing or get the workout in. And what happens when we do the hard thing first thing in the morning, we're going to get it done because we have maximum cognitive capacity to get it done. And then what also happens is once you get the hard thing done, you feel, I just got that done.
And the day hasn't even started yet.
The day hasn't even started. So you're more confident. You become more productive. So we need to train ourselves. Like in order to do the hard thing, we have to be disciplined to do it consistently. But just if you do it first thing in the morning, you're going to be more successful. There's been times where I say, well, I can't work out in the morning and I do it at night. It doesn't happen. If I don't get it done in the morning, I don't know, maybe some people can get the workouts in the afternoon, but I usually, if I don't get that workout in the morning, it usually doesn't happen.
Yeah. If it doesn't happen for me in the morning, mine is I got to get my bike ride done first thing in the morning.
So. Yeah. Because then family happens and, all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a little tip is you've got to be disciplined, as you said, be disciplined to do the work and think about, again, what does your future self want you to do? Gollwitzer, another psychologist said, come up with implementation intentions. So instead of just saying, I'm going to work out when I feel like it, you have to preload the decision and say, when my alarm goes off at 6:00, then I will. So you preload the decision. You're not even making the decision, do I feel like doing the hard thing or not? You just decide. So if you just use those implementation intentions and decide ahead of time, like this is when I'm going to do the workout. And then I do it first thing in the morning. Like those are techniques that can help you do the hard thing instead of waiting until motivation and willpower are overrated. If you wait until you feel like it and you're motivated, that's another misnomer. People think like, well, I just wasn't motivated. Well, that's just waiting until you feel comfortable, until you don't feel the fear, you feel like it. So if you don't feel like it, do it anyway. That's going to create that future self that's going to be proud of you.
Yeah, the gift to future self. Okay, so you brought up a couple things. I want to dive into one of them because you talked about, okay, so the three things are, first mindset. You call them the three doors in the story.
The three doors.
So the three doors. So mindset is one, and you talked about then the second door is action. So mindset, action, and then third is connection, and who we surround ourselves with. Can we talk more about that?
Yeah.
And I want to maybe you can talk about the importance of that.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to ask you to maybe share about that because you learned a lot about yourself, Marine Corps, for example, or other things. But, who were the people that you were surrounded by that influenced you?
Yeah.
And where did you have good and bad examples along the way?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, if we look at the research, the environment that we create for ourselves has a significant impact on our ability to take that voluntary action in the presence of fear. So, and what I mean by environment, the people that we surround ourselves with. So if we want to, let's say if someone wanted to run a marathon, but all the people they hung out with were a bunch of couch potatoes that like to watch television all day and nothing else or to game all day. Now that person that wanted to do that brave thing, they're going to be like running uphill with a parachute on their back into the wind if they hang around with the people that don't align with that goal. So for that person, if they really wanted to achieve that brave goal for themselves, they would be smart to figure out who are people that have run marathons or interested in running a marathon, that have gone through the struggles that I'm going to go through, that are going to encourage me to keep going when I want to tap out. So the secret to this, what I call a brave tribe or these brave connections, is find people that have already done the thing that you're aiming to do. They have the wisdom, they've got the experience, and they're going to be the ones to encourage you on, especially the days when you're having some of the downs. There's going to be ups and downs on the path. On the ups, you're going to be fine. But on the days that you're struggling, you need to surround yourself with the people that are going to say, you know what? I know you can do it. Get back up. That are not going to let you quit. They're going to say, get back up, right? And they're not going to let you tap out. They're going to encourage you to put courage into you. So surround yourself with the right people. You can start that bravery inside of you, but it's really enhanced by who you walk beside, and bravery is contagious.
I attest to that, the people you surround yourself with.
Mhm.
And why that's so big for me is because it expands my belief in what's possible.
Yeah.
I believe it's possible because I saw it and my environment just shows it to me that it is. And it's like, well, why not me? Right.
Yeah.
Um, and so a lot of that's subconscious, where I maybe somebody grew up in a home with parents who just encouraged them that they're capable and or entrepreneurial or so on versus someone else who's like, you can't, do that.
No, we get a job with
Yeah,
benefits. We don't try something
right.
out.
And this is the safety and
Mhm.
neither of them is necessarily wrong, right?
Right.
However, one of them doesn't believe that there's anything outside of this.
Right.
And the other one says, "Oh, well, there's options like beyond what I can even imagine right now."
Right.
So, but it's who we were surrounded with that created and opened that possibility.
Yeah.
So if I go back to the teenage Jill,
Ah. Mhm.
right? What created that belief in you? Who were you surrounded by that helped you imagine the direction you pointed?
Well, as I talked to my parents about it, they're like, this is a mystery because my parents both had. I think they influenced me because my both of my parents had jobs that they didn't enjoy. They worked because they had to. They couldn't wait to get off. They just want to retire as quickly as possible. So I think in a way, I was motivated by the example my parents had that I wanted more. Because I think you can sometimes learn from your parents. Like they've got fulfilling careers and they're entrepreneurs. So I want to be like that. And also, you can learn. I mean, I grew up with a wonderful childhood, you know, middle class Minnesota. I had everything, but I also just didn't see a passion for their work. It was like a job that was like going to a prison that they dreaded. Right. And my parents always wondered, like, I have no idea how I just walked my own path and had this ambition. But the one thing that comes to mind when it comes to the people who influence me is on that path to my path to become a Marine, one of my proudest accomplishments. There were a couple people that I don't think I would have made it without them. One was a Marine. He was the assistant Marine officer instructor. So he worked at the school and his job was to help us young Marines get through the program. And a lot of those moments when I mean, he was a prior drill instructor, so he looked, like, really scary, and he was out there saying, like, "Come on, come on." He was tough, but he would sometimes pull me aside and going like, "You can do it." Like, his little belief in me, like, that, I think, is what got me through the struggles, and then at one point, I have to tell you, I went in to the office, the commanding officer of our ROTC unit, and I went in to quit. I actually did that at the end of my freshman year. Kind of a long story, but my mom and dad were getting divorced. My mom left my dad. My dad was in a really bad place, and my dad was struggling, and he needed me. And so I went into the office to say, I can't keep doing this program because in the summers you deploy, you go on active duty and you deploy between my freshman and sophomore year. And I'm like, I can't do this because I need to go back and I have to be there for my dad. And I shared what was going on. I think I probably broke down. In fact, I know I did. So here's me, like, this, Marine officer candidate going into the commanding officer who is a full bird, captain in the Navy, just saying, like, I can't do this. I've got to quit. Because, you don't actually sign the paper to actually serve until the first day of your sophomore year. But in that moment, I look at this very empathetic, wonderful commanding officer said, so I understand that you want to go home and spend the summer with your dad, and that's the reason why you quit. Do you really want to quit, or do you just want to spend the summer, or do you want to help your dad? I'm like, I want to help my dad. He's like, you don't have to quit and help your dad. So they allowed me
Mm.
to not deploy over the summer and gave me an exception. And I went home and was able to spend the summer with my dad and help him. Now, there were some caveats, like we had to make sure that he had some counseling, I had some counseling, right? And that was all documented. But I mean, I literally tried to quit. And it was for a noble reason, but there's probably part of me that used that as because remember, it took me a couple of years before I felt confident. So there's a big part of me also that was feeling like I'm still not Marine Corps material. That was kind of more of my excuse, right?
Mm.
So I think of those those couple people that encouraged me and believed in my potential, that really helped me, stay the path.
And we've talked about, other friends that we share. And I
Yeah.
mean, just before we started this, our friend Curtis that introduced us, and the way that you met him was the choice of people you're intentionally choosing to surround yourself with,
Yeah.
which creates these groups of encouraging people. I mean, um, you've become a speaker and a coach, and you've written a book.
Mhm.
Um, I interviewed someone, they call her Mighty Mouse. She was this tiny little Asian woman, Chinese woman, and she's the first to Lei Wang is her name, and she climbed all 7 summits and North and South Poles.
Wow.
And she wrote a book about it called After the Summit, and I'm getting somewhere, I promise. Which are all of these amazing accomplishments that very few people on Earth can
Absolutely.
share with her.
Mhm.
But her message is, well, a couple of them. One is, well, what's it like on the top of Mount Everest? He's like, that's only halfway, right? When you're standing on top of the mountain, that's only halfway. You got to go back.
Ah, yeah.
And it's much faster going back,
Right.
but that's also important. It's like you get to the summit and then there's the journey home,
Mhm.
right? But after the summit, it's what comes next,
Mm.
right? Because the journey's not over,
Right.
right? And the next fear, the next challenge, the next opportunity for bravery is still waiting,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so it it's not letting down. And for her, one of them specifically was, okay, well, climbing Everest or whatever mountain was the last one is was a challenge, but then writing her book about it
Was the
was
next challenge.
even more terrifying in many ways to her,
Yeah. It was
right?
same thing for me.
So,
Writing the book was scary. How did she get through it? How did she face those fears?
well, and she teaches that. I guess part of it is the book brought out of her the lessons that she learned
Mm.
physically climbing the mountains and what it took for her to gain those skills. She's like, oh,
Same
well,
lessons
that
apply.
that is the lesson, and those lessons apply. And and your next Everest isn't necessarily, an 8,000 meter peak.
Yeah.
It is writing the book or calling your mom that you haven't talked to in 20 years,
Yes.
or
Exactly.
or fill in the blank, or starting your podcast, or
Mhm.
applying for the job.
Yes.
It is that is Mount Everest to somebody.
Yeah. And we're meant as humans to strive. It's not about getting to the top of the mountain, and that's the point is not accomplishing the goal. It's about who you become on the journey and how each time you accomplish one goal, you feel great about it, but that just gives you more self-belief to tackle the next thing. So we're built to strive, to always be setting the next one. So it's like it should never end. We should always be figuring out what's the next thing that I want to do to make an impact in the
Yeah,
world.
I love it. It's strive, not arrive. And then
Mhm.
through that, we can thrive,
Ooh,
right?
that's a good one. You should
I might have said it wrong. I've heard people say similar
I
things
like
to
it
that,
though.
but but arrival is actually, if arrival is the goal, that is the finish line in the marathon.
Right.
And I did a half Ironman.
Okay.
Um, I did them twice. So collectively, I've done a full
Okay.
Ironman.
I just add them up. Yep.
Yeah. But the first time I did it, I trained for a long time and I did it and I finished.
Uh-huh.
And then and anytime I do something like that, the physical exertion is so hard for me. And then when I cross the finish line, I'm super emotional,
Uh-huh.
and I get overcome by it and I cry, and it's just like it's the most exhilarating feeling and everything that you put into it. But then I was in this deep funk and depression for a couple weeks after, but I didn't understand why.
Okay. Why?
And I realized that it's because I had put all of my energy into arriving at a finish line, and then it was gone.
Ah. Mhm.
And so I lost a sense of purpose in meaning in where I was going
Yeah,
in this aspect of my life.
that
But
makes sense.
I didn't realize for a while why I felt that way, but I'm like, why am I in such this terrible
Yeah.
funk, you know?
Yeah.
And and that was because all of my intention was focused on arrival
Yeah.
instead of
Mhm.
striving.
Yeah.
It was about arriving.
Arriving.
And so striving, it's like all of the movement, celebrate the milestones.
Yes. Right. Experience the positive emotions as you go, even like looking at, you know, don't just think you're going to be happy when you get to the finish line, but celebrate the progress or generate those positive emotions because that's the rocket fuel to actually get there. So you should be enjoying the journey.
Right.
The
And
ups and downs.
coming back to that bravery, it's the habit of bravery,
Yeah.
adopting the habit of bravery. Okay, this has been awesome. Okay, so I have a couple of teenage kids.
Okay.
Um,
Well, so do I. Well, they're 18 and 20 now, but I'm sure I've completely screwed them up. And now that I understand everything, I wish I could do a do-over, but I tried my best.
well, and that's the best and so this is where we have the mistake. So my daughter Penelope is actually thinking about starting a podcast. She's 16 years old, but I have teenage kids, and what is probably going to be the theme of this is her interviewing people like you, where she can say, okay, well, what lesson would you teach your 16-year-old self? And
Mm.
then she can gather a collection of these things, right?
So cool.
Um, and so I mean, this could be toward my kids or your teenage self. Like,
I love it.
what is one tip or
Uh-huh.
piece of advice that you would say to your 16-year-old self
Right.
or my 16-year-old child?
Yeah. So is that a question for me now?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Oh,
Um, I would tell my younger self that anything is possible and don't allow your self-limiting beliefs to keep you small. And the reason I would say that is I think I started off because of my parents' example. Like I was going to be a Marine and then just get a job because that's what you do if you're in the Midwest. You don't. But then I became an entrepreneur. But that was really scary for me to be able to be an entrepreneur. And now that I'm doing something else, now I'm an author. I never would have imagined when I was younger that I would become an author, a keynote speaker, an entrepreneur. And I didn't even think it was possible. So I would just tell my younger self that I want you to dream big and swing for the fences. And anything you want is possible. I mean, as long as you're brave, as long as you're willing to try and put in the reps. And I think it took me, I'm 51 years old now. And I feel like I'm just now realizing what I really want to do and I'm aligned with it. And I've never felt more excited or at completely just at peace that I'm doing the right thing. It took me 51 years. So I wish I could tell my 16-year-old self, I wish I would have started this when I was like maybe, you know, 20, when I was getting out of the Marine Corps at like 27 years old. I wish I would have started down this path earlier. But now I feel like I'm just getting started. And I mean, I still have a lot of years. I'm only 51. It's still kind of young, right? So that's what comes to mind.
I love it. Well, and then maybe invite her to read this book.
You know, it's actually, if you open it, it's dedicated to my
Yep.
daughters. And here's the question. You'll have to ask me the next time you see me, like in a couple months, a year, to like
Yeah.
whenever. And just like, I don't know when the girls will ever read this. I have written this book. In the story, there's like little things that may happen with the characters that my daughters know. They're like little secret messages to them. So when they read it, they're going to call me and go, Mom, like that. So I'm not going to force them to read it, but I hope someday they'll read it. And when they do, they're going to know those exact points in the story that are like inside things with us that they'll never see. So I wrote it for them, and I think our younger generation, they need this message about embracing discomfort and being brave. So this message that I'm sharing to the world is the exact same message I wish I would have known at 16.
Well, that's the best advice. Jill, thank you so much. I'm grateful for you. And I'm going to choose bravery. I'm going to take those 15 seconds and now analyze my fear. Say, is this an invitation
Mhm.
rather than something I should run from?
Yeah,
Because I cower,
I do too.
right?
We all do.
So thanking everybody. You can find this book. I mean, go to Jill's website. I'll put the links in here, Amazon or Jill's
Everything.
website, right? I invite you to read this. It's a really fun story. And it's more than that. So be brave, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.